Good evening. I am Count Cinema, and welcome to Movie Face Off. Yeah, I'm not going to speak like that for the entire video. That's just stupid. But yeah, welcome to another Movie Face Off. And the last time I made a Movie Face Off was actually with science fiction movies for a tournament I'm now no longer doing. But like I said, September and October, most of my videos are going to be based on horror movies, and so this one is no different. So, let's get to talking about the main character of both movies we're going to be talking today, Dracula. Now, Dracula is one of the most famous fictional characters of all time. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's the number one character to have the most adaptations ever. And he's a very popular character. I mean, he's the vampire. Like, how can you possibly, top him in the vampire game? And while there are seemingly endless adaptations and films about the character, the two that most people today consider to be the best are the 1931 film, played by Bela Lugosi, Dracula, and the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula, played by Gary Oldman. Yeah, Gary Oldman. And these two are usually considered the best of Dracula, but which one is the best? Well, with 5 rounds, let's get into this movie Face Off. So let's begin with round 1, story. Now, of course, both these movies are based off the late 1800 novel Dracula. And the novel is, of course, told in journal entries and diary writings. But both movies take for a more third-person approach to it. So there are bound to be more changes here and there in regards to how certain things are done. Like, for example, in the 1931 film, when these real estate guy comes to Count Dracula's castle, he meets the 3 women, although it's never explicitly said whether they're brides or sisters, while in the novel they're described as sisters. In the 1992 film, they're called the brides. So there are going to be some changes like that. With the 1931 film, it appears as though everything is sort of happening over the course of, say, a week, and that's being conservative. And with the 1992 film, it's sort of similar sort of timeline, kind of. While in the novel is, of course, taking place over a course of several months. And there are several other changes, whereas in both versions, all the people are researching what's going on with Lucy and trying to figure out what's the cause of her illness and odd behavior. Abraham Van Helsing appears to be familiar with most of this vampire lore stuff, since he is apparently from Transylvania himself. And in terms of story and just how they both are, when it comes to fundamental parts of the Dracula lore, both of them are still fairly loyal to the source material. But I will have to go with the 1931 film on this, seeing how it tries to be a little bit more like the novel. So, round 1 goes to the 1931 film. So let's get into the effects and action. Now, the effects for the 1931 film are as to be expected, but they're still pretty decent. And the action, it's passable. The action's fine. But, of course, in the 1992 film, it's a lot more Hollywood-like, and, of course, it's more updated. So this is really more of an easy win for the 1992 film. Hey, I mean, there's over 50 years between the two versions. Of course, the more recent one's going to have the better effects and such. So, 1992 film grabs the second round. Now the cast of both these films. Now the casting for both these films, for the most part, they're very good. I mean, of course, you got Gary Oldman, who plays Dracula. He was a little bit more of an older man. And with 1931 film, we got Bela Lugosi? I can never get this guy's name right. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm saying his name correctly. And it is Bela Lugosi. Yeah, sorry about that, but yeah, Bela Lugosi. He doesn't play an older version of Dracula. He's more like that handsome, suave man. I sound like during those movie previews, the suave man. But yeah, Bela Lugosi plays a version of Dracula that's more handsome, charming, sophisticated, an aristocrat. Sort of what you would think someone like Dracula would be. Well, the Dracula of 1992 film is more older, and he's still very much an aristocrat, but just an older version of him. And as far as like the supporting cast roles go, they're for the most part fine, except for the casting, of course, of Keanu Reeves as John Stewart, with which is just heavily criticized. And but of course, the people from the 1931 film, they're more classically trained, so they give a little bit more sophistication to their roles, a little bit more discipline to how they portray their characters. And not to say that the people of the 1992 film did not have a level of discipline and sophistication, but it's just more classic. But the ones of the 1931 film are classically trained, which translates very well for this kind of movie. So this round goes to the 1931 film, 2-1. Next, let's go to the fourth round, the atmosphere that both of these films produce. Now, the atmosphere of the 1931 film is of a gothic atmosphere of mystery and suspense and danger, while the 1992 film, while it still has like sort of like that gothic feel and that mystery and thrill, it's a little bit more modern Hollywoodized, like the Hollywood we've come to know today. And even though I'm saying like the 1992 film is a little bit more Hollywood-like, there is criticism of the atmosphere in the 1931 film. I mean, while it is a well-made movie, the atmosphere and feel of the movie was still fairly criticized back in its day, and it doesn't really help that later that same year when Frankenstein came out, didn't have that same atmosphere, but people liked it a lot more how it was used then. So of course, 1931 film is not completely perfect. And with the 1992 film, yeah, it's a little bit more mainstream Hollywoodized. It still has that feel that can only be associated with that film. And that's what sort of makes it stand out from the other plethora of Dracula films. So this round goes to the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula. So 2-2 tie. This next round determines the winner, and that is The Legacy. Now, before there was ever a film adaptation, the novel Dracula has sort of become famous in its own right as a horror novel at the end of the 19th century. So, of course, when you're going to make a movie about it, you're going to have to get it right. Now, of course, for the 1992 film titled Bram Stoker's Dracula, there's a certain level of expectation that needs to be met. And while there is a lot of stuff that it does well, it still seems to have fallen short with a fair number of people. With some even calling that just being like Hollywood thrills and like a movie promising so much but delivers so little. And there was a lot more criticism of this film than in some other Dracula films. Now, this seems like I'm like just going at the 1992 film, but really it has a legacy in its own right. I mean, it's considered one of the best Dracula films, and you have to give it credit for that because there's a lot to be admired in this film. However, there's a legacy with a 1931 film that can't beat. And do you know why that can't be beat? Because the Dracula film is often credited with being one of the kickstarters of the golden age of horror movies. I mean, while you can criticize parts of the 1931 film all you want, it did help kick into gear the series of Universal monster films that have influenced not only horror genre itself, but Hollywood movies in general. And that's just a legacy that just really can't be beat. So, of course, I'm going to have to give this one to 1931. So, score 3-2. The 1931 film of Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, beats out the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, of course, even though it is a loser, it's still a good film, and it stands out from the hundreds of other Dracula movies. And I do encourage you to check it out. But I also really encourage you to check out the 1931 film. It may be black and white and shorter than you think, and not the same kind of movie you probably watch today. It's still very well made. It has good atmosphere, a good feel to it, and it's just something that's also worth checking out as well as a little throwback film. And that's the winner, 1931, Bela Lugosi. Sorry, Gary Oldman, but you did a good job. And that's this movie, Face Off. Now, like, comment, subscribe, share, and this is Count Cinema, waiting to see you in the next video.